Good morning, members, and welcome to this meeting of the Stranraer Common Good Subcommittee. The meeting's being live streamed and recorded and will be made available for public viewing. Please follow the Council's good practice guidance. I won't go through that, as you should all be familiar with it by now. So item 1 is Sederant apologies and approval of remote participation, which I approve. Gillian, can you provide the Sederant, please?
Certainly,
Oh, hold on,
Chair.
I've got Andrew with his hand up first. Yeah.
Thanks, Chair. It's just to apologise for last time. I thought we weren't going to be quorate, so I didn't join, unfortunately. Otherwise, we would have been quorate. Apologies for that. I realised that, of course, a wee bit of well, not an upset, but a wee bit of confusion and annoyance. So apologies for that to the officers and to yourself, Chair.
Thank you. Gillian?
Thanks, Chair. Morning, members. Okay, so on the call this morning, we've got Chair Councillor Dashbert, we've got Councillor Gusty, and we've got Councillor Ingalls in attendance as substitute for Councillor Scobie. We've also got Robert Downey, our community representative. He's currently sharing Fiona's laptop, and I think David from Brown Dolphin's just joined us to take questions for the first couple of reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ingalls?
Just an apology from Councillor Chrissy Hill.
Thank you. And welcome to our community representative and to David. Item 3, minutes of previous meeting of 29th of August 2024. This is just for noting if we're happy to know.
Happy to know, Chair.
Thank you. Next item is the Stranraer Common Good investment approach. This report provides members with the investment approach for the common good. We've got David Houston from Brew and Dolphin here today to take us through the investment approach. David, can I turn to you first to talk us through what you've got to say this morning? Thank you.
Yes, so we obviously had that conversation in August, I think it was, and specifically looking at the level of risk within the portfolio. On the back of the meeting, I did send across a discussion paper which laid out the factors which you should consider when making a decision about whether or not to potentially increase the level of risk in the investments. Just by way of an update, the portfolio value has improved. So when we saw you in August, it was about 709,000. It's now about 720,000, actually slightly more, 720,665. So in the short term, obviously we've had two big events, the UK budget and the US election. The US election has had more of an impact in markets and actually reacted very positively. So the portfolio has participated in that. In the UK, more of a dampener. The budget is likely to weigh on economic growth in the UK. And so I suppose from the point of view of the portfolio, it's likely to mean more in US equities and less than UK equities. But in terms of what we spoke about and the discussion paper, we laid out what we think are the factors you need to consider. The key thing really is your capacity for loss. So to what extent are you able to tolerate short-term volatility in the value of the investments in the interests of getting better returns in the long term? And the sorts of things you need to consider is your investment time horizon. The longer your investment time horizon, the more able you are to sit through volatility in markets. Other assets, I think you do have other assets within the Common Good Fund, so you're not totally reliant upon the investment portfolio. So taking all these things into consideration, you do actually have quite a good level of capacity for losses in the short term in the interest of getting better returns. So I think it is something that you can certainly consider going up a notch on the risk scale.
Okay, thank you. I'll open it up to members' comments and debates. Councillor Giusti, I know last time you were celebrating a possible Trump win, so you must be a happy bunny this morning.
Well, I think everyone in Stranraer should be happy because it looks like we're going to have a better Common Good Fund because of it, Chair. But thank you. Yeah, so one of my caveats last time was I thought it would be better if all the members of the Common Good were going to make this decision. Unfortunately, there's only 2 of us here today and our community representative. But in my mind, I think we should be trying to capitalise a wee bit on the long-term investment and maybe go up a notch. But in the sense of maybe, what's the word? In the sense of maybe dipping our toes in the water first, could we maybe potentially look at putting a third of our money at a higher risk profile for a year and see how that reacts, and then review it again next year? Would that be more comfortable with the likes of yourself, Chair? Because I know that I'm maybe a wee bit more flamboyant when it comes to these kind of things and a wee bit more confident, but I need to appreciate that other councillors are maybe not quite so confident.
Yep. So I was with you last time, when we wanted all the members of the Common Good to be here to make this decision, but we're struggling with getting people to turn up to meetings and stuff. So I don't know if that, David, is that possible to do it by what he just suggested, a third of the money?
I think moving a third of it, to be honest, I'm not sure that would make a huge amount of difference. I think the risk categories are set up in such a way that the changes are fairly incremental. So you wouldn't see, to be honest, a huge change from just having a third invested in line with risk category 7. I think if you're going to do it, you just move the whole lot. As I said, the changes are relatively incremental. They would only really have a big difference over longer time horizons, as opposed to even maybe just over a year. The difference might be relatively small. So I think you make the decision based on a strategic long-term point of view, and then I think if circumstances change, by all means review it. But you have to let a long-term strategy be invested for the long term.
Yeah, and Andrew.
Thanks for that, David. So, Chair, and this is going on to a wee bit of my own personal circumstance. I was looking at setting up a pension at the start of the week, and I've been looking at this for a while, and we were discussing risk categories. And one of the things that I had there from the advice was that US equities at the moment are very strong. And that is probably where we're wanting to be in US equities. And the recommendation I've had is they're probably going to be strong for the next 4 years at least. And they've been reasonably strong actually for the past few years as well, with only 1 year, I think, taking a reasonable dip. So, Chair, I'm comfortable to go to a higher risk category. The idea of us maybe going all in, I don't know, that's more of a question for the likes of yourself. Are you comfortable with that? I understand that what David's saying, this needs to be a long-term strategy. I think the short-term option is more just to get members in a kind of comfortable place where, right, okay, so it's not this huge kind of risk that we've seen. I don't know how to describe it, but it's up to yourself, Chair, because I'm not sure if Councillor Ingalls will want to come in on this, because it's not Councillor Ingalls' Common Good. I'm comfortable with going up a level, so I think it's up to yourself, Chair.
Yeah, no, I've thought about it, and yeah, I think I'm more comfortable with it now than I was at the start. So yeah, David, can you just sort of outline what that would mean for us if we do go up? Yeah.
So just to put some numbers around that, what it would mean would be approximately 14% of the portfolio coming out of lower risk investments, so fixed income and alternatives, and that 14% would be invested into equity markets, and the majority of that would be added to the US. So you would still have diversification away from equities, so you wouldn't be solely focused on equity markets. You would still have around 15% invested in non-equities, so diversifying assets. So it is roughly 14% of the portfolio will be taken from lower risk investments and put into equity markets. So 14% of the portfolio is a reasonable slug, but it's not a huge amount. And you're not going to be solely exposed to equities. You will still have diversification away from equities. I'm not aware of any plans to draw down on any capital in the portfolio. So, you know, if we do see more volatility for whatever reason, then you are able to stay invested to allow time for the investments to recover. So I'm comfortable with that. You're only taking out the income. You've got a lot of discretion, I think, over how you spend the money. So all these factors mean that I'm pretty comfortable with you taking that. If you do take the decision to move up and there's a need to change that, we can review it in a year's time. We can review it in 6 months' time. There's nothing set in stone. But I certainly think, given the factors we discussed, there's nothing to stop you taking that decision.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments from members? No. Okay, so I think I'll just move to the recommendations then. So we've noted the additional information provided by Doing Brolfin as requested. And in terms of 2.2, agreeing an investment. Oh, wait, I've got a hand up.
I was only maybe referring Ben to the off camera. We had the discussion with Councillor Scobie at the last aborted meeting, and Willie had some suggestions about maybe some capital investments or some of the money in the Common Good Fund. And on Monday night, it was kind of hinted that we could be coming across money as well, as you were there, Ben, from wind farm investments money. And I'm wondering if we should be thinking about his approach of maybe to spend some money in the town for the benefit of the people of the town, rather than just. And I know what Councillor Goose is saying is right enough. The American market looks really good, but do you want to have the money just sitting there and maybe not actually use it for the benefit of the people of the town?
Yeah, no, thanks, Robert. So what we're agreeing here is the amount of money in terms of how the common good is funded, not necessarily how it's spent. I think that's the difference. But you're certainly right that the town does need money, and if we do up the level of investment, then there will be more money in the common good pot for us to distribute in the town, and that's the decision that we're making this morning. Councillor Giusti.
Thanks, Chair. Just a wee bit of history on this, Robert. I think it was me that actually raised at the Common Good a number of times ago that the Common Good should be looking at investing in property in Stranraer. And I brought it onto the agenda, and I believe it's going to be coming onto the agenda. So I'm glad that you're on that. But yeah, we will be. We're looking at that. I think there's a report coming in due course by Gillian, if Gillian wants to maybe clarify on that one. Thank you, Chair.
I'll take Gillian and then I'll let Robert back in. Yeah.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Councillor Goosty. Yes, we have been liaising with other council services just to try and pull together the most fullest report possible with all the information for members in relation to the property purchase. Initial conversations have taken place with legal services and colleagues from finance. So I would be hoping, as Councillor Goosty said, there'll be a report coming ideally to the next Common Good in February if we've got all the relevant information. I obviously want to make sure it's the fullest and most accurate report before it's presented to members for a decision.
Magic. Robert?
I don't want to take away from Councillor Auguste's good ideas, and I look forward to the information coming towards Community Council in the next year when we can all move forward with some good suggestions for the town.
Absolutely, good stuff. Right, so recommendations, 2.2, agree an investment approach for upcoming financial year. I think the consensus is that we're going to up the risk per se. So if we could have that noted as the decision. Thank you. Okay. Next item. In our Common Good Fund, final outturn 2023/24, and the financial plan for 2024-25. This report provides members with the final outturn of 2023-24 and the financial plan 2024-25. We've got David still with us here today to take us through the investment and the interest income for 2023-24. So David, I'll turn it over to you again.
Yeah, I touched on the fact that the capital value has improved. Just to update you on the current expected income, it's just over £19,000. So 19,189 is the estimated annual gross income.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. I don't know if this is a question for Gillian, maybe. Page 35, I'm looking at it, and it says 4.1, the common good received such and such an income, which was a combination of interest generated by rent, investment income, and loan fund interest and repayment. A bit about rent, is that just a sort of standard thing? Because I don't know who we are renting to, if anyone.
Thanks, Chair. That was a standard thing. I know that Councillor Gusty has requested information. I see him popping his hand up. Councillor Gusty has requested information. Again, I've been working with colleagues across the council to get information, and again I'm hoping that we will be ready to present a report to members so you can see exactly what assets the common good have and which have rental income coming in for it. And I know Councillor Dashper, you mentioned at the last on the 6th of November about having something maybe added to the front pages of Stranraer Common Goods papers with just a list of assets there as a kind of a standing thing, just to remind members and to keep it kind of at the forefront of what's there. So again, as far as I'm aware, that's all on the action log, and we are working towards having a report to present to members.
That's useful, thank you. Yeah, I think it's just because, you know, all the common goods run on the same template in terms of how they're written. So sometimes we read things which might apply to another common good, but not necessarily this one. Yeah. Councillor Giusti.
Thanks, Chair. Rental wise, I know the common good owns the museum and the Castle Green. So, and we rent them both to the council. What my question's been previously is what's the terms of that lease? When was it last written? When was it last agreed? Or has it just been a rolling kind of lease? And then the question on that is, if it was written 20 years ago and agreed 20 years ago, then maybe we should be getting a wee bit more cash into our common good at the council for the use of our buildings, because they'll be getting a good deal, I believe you.
Well, we'll maybe cross that bridge when we get to it, considering how cash-strapped the council is at the minute. But Gillian, I'm assuming that will be collated within the upcoming review of our full arrangements. Yeah.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, that's all been captured. I know that there's sort of been previous conversations at, whether it's been at a previous Common Good meeting or a members' seminar, that there has those questions have been asked and they've been captured, and we are working together to get the fullest report to present to members with all the information and the up to date. And I have taken note, Councillor Gusty, just to make sure we've got the lease agreements, when it was created and how long that's running for, and if it's a longer term lease or if it's a shorter term lease that's sort of naturally renewed itself. So yeah, that will be with members as soon as we've got all the information ready.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any other comments or queries? Robert.
Can I ask a query then? If Councillor Gusty is saying that the Common Good Fund owns the museum, who paid for all the renovation work that was done in the last year or two? Did the Common Good Fund pay for that?
So, to my knowledge, the works at the museum were paid through the Stranraer Cars project, which is through Historic Environment Scotland. So it's a Scottish Government historical project, Robert.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Any other comments? No. Okay. So we'll move to the recommendations. 2.1, we are going to agree the financial objective of the financial plan being to maintain the financial health of the fund and maximise and manage the level of free income available for distribution by the Common Good Subcommittee, as detailed at 4.4. 2.2, agree the financial plan for 2024-25 as set out in Appendix 1. Note the financial outturn for 2023-24 in Appendix 1 and the balance sheet in Appendix 2. And we've noted that David has given his presentation this morning and answered questions. So thank you for coming, David. Okay, all agreed? Good, thank you. Thanks for coming, David.
Okay, so that's confirmed then. You're moving from 6 to 7. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll do that this morning.
Thanks for coming. Good to see you. Cheers.
And you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye now.
Okay, moving on. Agenda item 7, applications for financial assistance from the Stranraer Common Good Fund, the loan. This report refers to the loan agreements arrangements to the Stranraer Millennium Centre. At the Common Good meeting on the 19th of June, members of this committee agreed to award £10,000 to Stranraer Millennium Centre from the Stranraer Common Good Loans Fund on a loan basis, with a loan agreement being set up by Legal Services. Members were being asked to determine the loan term, i.e. the length of the loan and the interest rate for repayment. We've got Gillian here. If I remember correctly, this was Councillor Scobie's original suggestion, who's no longer with us today. So I don't know if Willie has any thoughts that he might want to give to this, but he's not here to do that today. So I'll open it up. Andrew, as the only other member of the Common Good, and technically I'm turning to you here if you've got any queries.
Well, Chair, I'm not too fussed about us making income here in the sense of interest. I think the only request that I would say is that the loan's repaid plus any admin costs that it's cost us, which I don't know if Gillian's got a round figure for that.
Gillian?
No, Councillor Gusty, I don't have an admin figure, but I can certainly go back to colleagues in finance, treasury and legal. That's who we've been working with to bring this report to members for a decision to be made.
I'm looking at 4.3, page 66. It's going on about our standing orders. Gillian, could you just give some clarity about what they're trying to say to us there about changing in circumstances and stuff?
Yep, thanks, Chair. So because we've had to bring a report back in a short period of time for the same item that was discussed, it's basically a change in circumstances because the fullest of information wasn't captured on the 6th of June. So obviously the decision round about the loan terms and the loan interest isn't a delegated decision that officers can take. So that has to come back to members. So we took guidance from governance over the best way to present this to the Stranraer Common Good Subcommittee, and it was governance that highlighted the standing orders and it being a change in circumstances because officers can't make that decision.
Okay, so maybe correct me if I'm wrong here, but is that essentially saying that because we didn't have the fullest of information available to hand when we made that decision, it's now being brought back in front of us again? Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, Councillor Giusti.
So from that, Gillian, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that us then today setting the length of the loan and the interest rate on the loan and our expected payback?
Yes.
Right, okay. So we need to decide that now.
Yeah, absolutely. So Councillor Gusty, that decision isn't delegated to officers, so we don't have the powers. Obviously, at the June Common Good Subcommittee meeting, members made the decision to grant the loan to the organisation, and then behind, sort of after the meeting, officers have been working together to see what do we need to do to make that happen. And it's not something I've ever been involved in before, so it's been a learning process and sort of working with colleagues and sort of gaining knowledge from other parts of the council to kind of work together. So that's why we've brought back the report for members to make that decision. And obviously then this will go back and it will work we'll work with like finance, treasury and legal services in relation to the actual next steps to get the money to the group. But the whole way along, I've been in contact with the organisation and kind of keeping them up to date with where we're at and what's happening. So the group are aware that, again, conversations are happening, and I'll update them as soon as I can.
Andrew?
So with those conversations, Gillian, is there an expectation or is there or do we have an understanding what the group are kind of expecting their repayments to be over what time, or are they leaving that in our hands?
Thanks, Councillor Gusty. No, the group are just waiting to find out the decision of the Stranraer Common Good in relation to the loans terms and conditions. And obviously we'll need to work in partnership with our colleagues in legal services in relation to making sure that all sort of areas are covered and sort of subsidy control factors are featured into that loan.
Okay, I think just touching on that question, so when officers have been making up this agreement at Appendix 3, has this been done in conversation with the Millennium Centre? Because I'm quite conscious that, you know, so it's a 10-year agreement at an interest rate of 4.5%. I mean, you know, I'm looking at these payments and they look quite high to me, and I know we've given them a lot of money, but has this agreement been drawn up in conversation with the Millennium Centre Trust? Do we know?
Thanks, Chair. No, it's a conversation that's taking place between finance, treasury, and legal.
Okay, I'm just yeah. I'm just wondering how palatable this might be to them when it gets in their inbox. But yeah, okay. So any other questions from members? Andrew?
So, Chair, I've just put in a loan calculator online. So £10,000 over 5 years at an interest rate of 1% would be a total repayable amount of £10,255 £7, which will be a monthly repayment of £170.92 a month. I would be comfortable with that, although I don't know what the admin fee is for us actually pulling money in out of Brewendorf and out of our investment fund and out of our capital to fund this. So I don't necessarily want the common good to, or if it would say let's say £1,000 to actually do all this, I don't want us to be that money down. But in the interest of actually moving this forward, I'd be fine with us loaning this £10,000 over 5 years at an interest rate of 1%, which, as I said, Gillian, are you needing to write this down? Are you need me? You want me to go slower? No. So that would be a monthly repayment of £170.92, with the total amount repayable being £10,255.07. And yeah, that's us. And that total cost of the loan then to the Millennium Centre will be £255.07. Are you comfortable with that, Chair, or do we need more? That's the question, I think.
You know, I see this as a loan for something which benefits the community, and you know, I don't want to make a profit off it, really, per se. So, you know, it's for the benefit of everyone in Stranraer. The Millennium Centre is a really good local group and organisation. So if you're recommending we lower the interest rate, Andrew, then yeah, I'm all on board with that. Robert? You're on mute.
Robert.
Yeah.
Do we need to know what this money has been used for, Councillor Ashmore, or is that sorted out already? What the money's going for?
So it's in your papers. I think it's Appendix 2. Is the original application. So that's on page 71. Basically, it's to take care of their running costs as a general sort of payment, because they're struggling financially. Although I'm just reading it again, and they've said in the application, Gillian, that the running costs are to cover the cost of the centre for the next 3 months. Is that 3 months historically from when they submitted the application? I mean, or
I spoke to the group recently, and they were still looking for that support from the common good.
Okay, because I don't know, because now that I'm reading this again, I'm thinking 10 years to pay off 3 months feels a bit extreme, but Councillor Giusti.
It'd be 5 years to pay off the 3 months. But yeah. So from a brief discussion I had with the manager in the Millennium Centre, my belief is that they were able to take out of their ring-fenced funding for other projects to get them through that 3 months, but now they are requiring the extra cash to put back into that ring-fenced funding for those projects that they. Essentially, I think they've robbed Peter to pay Paul, and now they want to pay Peter back, if I understand that correctly.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean, Andrew. Robert.
Mike again, Robert.
I'm on, right. I'm only wondering what happens the next time they are £10,000 short. And I do know, obviously, we know through Community Council they've had a change of management structure, and the new management structure I hope to make the Millennium Centre more efficient. So there may not be any need for a £10,000 loan in the future, but I can see the point if they're paying this back for a short-term fix for when they were in a sticky wicket. Do we need to know they're not going to get in that sticky wicket again, and the £10,000 they can't even meet the loan repayments?
Yeah, Gillian, I'll pass to you on this one if you can maybe help. So what sort of measures or safeguards, or what happens if they struggle to meet these payments?
That's a conversation I would need to have, Chair, with Finance, Treasury and Legal round about the next steps. I'm happy to get that information for you. I would imagine it'll be like any other council fund that is issued out to organisations, that there is a clawback, clawback clause. But if members are looking for fuller information, I can gather that and feed it back to you.
Yeah, but I assume the council's got some sort of process by which the legal team will look into that if that happens. Andrew, are you comfortable making this decision without that information to hand right now, because we don't know what happens if they can't repay it?
Chair, this fund gives money out all the time to folk that we don't know if they're going to achieve their goals or not. I would say I probably am comfortable in giving them that. At the end of the day, if you look at our capital and you look at what we're giving out here, I don't see the Millennium Centre going bust in the next few years. I reckon that will at least have got half of that loan back. And then if we lose £5,000 on supporting the community over a couple of years, I think that's a benefit rather than a disbenefit to the common good. So I'm reasonably comfortable, Chair.
Okay. Gillian, I'm also looking at their application on page 71, and they've been awaiting decisions from other organisations for match funding. Do we have any because we're looking at a historical application here from when we originally agreed it. Have they communicated to us if any of this additional funding has come through since from these other groups?
I don't think I have that information to hand, Chair, but again, I'm happy to go back to the organisation and ask for an update of the funding bids that were submitted and what the outcome of those were, especially with the ones that were listed when they were waiting for decisions, because I've just noticed there is quite a few waiting for decisions. So I'm happy to go back to the group.
Okay. Andrew?
Chair, could we perhaps defer this item until the end of the meeting? And in that time, if Gillian could maybe just give them a phone, give their manager a phone and find out that information of if this has come in, if this these decisions have been made and what else they've applied for. Is that possible?
Yeah, if everyone else is happy for me to make a quick call, I'm happy to do that. If I can speak to my usual contact and get that information for you.
I asked Stephen last night.
I'm not sure if our chair's frozen.
Permafrost, I think, Gillian. Permafrost. We've lost the chair now, Gillian. Are we not core it now, or are we still core it with our community rep? No, we're not core it. Is
That
it
we need
worth?
to wait. We need to wait for our chair to rejoin. I'm
Right.
hoping it's just some technical difficulties, and then
Hopefully.
Councillor Dash will be back with us.
Is it worth maybe in this brief time going and giving Stephen a call? Hi Ben, is that you back?
That's me back. Sorry, internet dropped out.
I think. Oh, I think in your absence, Gillian was going to go and give the Millennium Centre a call because we didn't know how long you were going to be. So
Okay, yeah. If Gillian's making that call right now, I'll just start a 10-minute recess then, and then we'll reconvene. Hopefully once Gillian's made that call. Okay. Thanks. Hi, Gillian.
Hi, Chair.
Right, so that's us back after recess. Gillian, did you manage to make contact?
I certainly did.
Good stuff. And what's the result?
Okay, so I have spoke to the manager of the Millennium Centre and confirmed that the organisation has received the National Lottery funding. We are uncertain about the region-wide community fund because that all took place prior to the manager being in post. But they are looking for that information and we'll get it over to me as soon as possible. The Summer Activities Fund, yes, was successful, and the Cash for Kids application was successful. I have asked a question in relation to if the loan was still required by the organisation, and the manager's confirmed yes. And similar to what Councillor Gusty said earlier on, it was money that was used to kind of bridge that, to bridge the gap. So ring fence money was used to keep the doors open in between the funding sources. So it's to sort of replenish those funds, as the conversation I've just had, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I suppose one question I've got additionally is as these loan repayments come back in on an annual basis and stuff, is that money straight into the common good pot for use in that year, or do we need to wait for the full loan to be repaid before that money is accessible again?
Oh, that's a great question. My understanding is that that money comes back on a yearly basis. It's not like it's held in a pot for however long members want, but I can certainly check that out with colleagues in finance just to get the absolute clarification.
Yeah, if we could get that clarification, that'd be useful. Thank you. Andrew, you recommended lowering the interest rate. Do you have any maths on that?
Well, Chair, well, the common good, so our core principle here is for the common good of Stranraer, and I don't think profiteering off of a institution in Stranraer that's for the general good or for the common good of Stranraer is a wise idea for us, if I'm being entirely honest with you. I understand there will be scrutiny there in the sense of, well, we're here to defend the common good fund and the trust itself, but the trust is in itself is constituted to support the inhabitants of Stranraer and projects of Stranraer. I think that the Millennium Centre is a net positive for the people of Stranraer. So I'm willing to lower the interest. I don't necessarily want us to lose out on the admin fees of how much this would cost us to actually do this loan. So I would have preferred a wee bit more information on that. But for example, at the minute, as I said earlier on, a £10,000 loan over 5 years at an APR rate of 1% is our total repayable of £10,255 and 7 pence, and that's a monthly repayment of £170 and 92p, which means that the loan will cost the Millennium Centre in total £255 and 7 pence. I don't imagine, if we do have admin fees, I don't imagine them being much more than that, but it's up to yourself, Chair, as probably casting member, if we want to go for a lower rate or do we want to go for a higher rate. Sorry, I'm going to just calculate it at 1.5%. 1.5% would increase our income on the loan to £383.27. So £383 and 27 pence. That would, I would imagine, that would probably definitely cover our admin costs. I don't see it being any more than more than £350 or £400, but I'll let Robert in see what he's thinking.
Robert.
Is it not possible? It maybe sounds a wee bit of a gift, but I would have wondered when it's for this, what it's been used for. Would it be feasible to charge them no interest and just actually manage the fee of actually structuring the loan, and possibly ask for some positive publicity out of it through Millennium Centre, that the people of the town know we are doing some good for the town?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we've got a lot of questions here, but we're still looking for answers around legal issues like repayments and admin costs. Gillian, I don't know. I mean, I'm not expecting you to know the answers about admin costs or anything, but you can get that information for us, can't you?
Can certainly try, Chair. I have popped a question over to colleagues in finance just now about would the repayments be available for spending or would it go back into the cash balance? So I've asked that question, and in relation to the admin fees, that hasn't been something that came up in any of the conversations in between sort of finance, treasury and legal. It's been more around about the interest rates and sort of taking advice from colleagues who sort of deal with that on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, we could really do with sort of a legal in this committee this morning to help us out a bit. I've got Robert first. Yeah. You're mute again.
Mike, Robert.
The situation now, as regarding the money, there's no urgency to make a decision today, and you could get time for the next meeting to discuss all these issues that are pending, because this is only going back into the place money that's already been taken from another fund, and I'm sure they can wait till the turn of the year till you have your next meeting.
Yeah. Gillian, can I just ask, so when we have the next scheduled meeting of the Common Good in 2025, I'm assuming that would be when, you know, the pot of money is reset and is opened up again for the new financial year next year.
As far as I'm aware, Chair, the Stranraer Common Good Fund runs in line with financial years. So my understanding is the fund would replenish on the 1st of April.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And run till the 31st of March. So the next Stranraer Common Good subcommittee meeting would still be based on this year's
Right.
this year's pot. So the February meeting would still have this year's allocated if there are funds left for members to allocate.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if because by the time we do agree this, it's going to be, you know, a significant amount of time since they originally asked us for money for 3 months, which was even longer than 3 months ago at this point, and will be if we hold this meeting, defer it until next year. So I don't know if it's worth maybe just asking them to put in a new application in the next financial year, just to keep us in a better standing. I don't know. Andrew, I'm in your hands.
Chair, I'm going to move something for you, and it's maybe going to be a compromise position between what Robert was saying and what I was saying. So this is an if or kind of motion, so it is, Gillian. So if you need me to say it again or slow down, just cut over me at any point. So I'm going to suggest that we loan the £10,000 at 0% interest, but if there's any admin fees incurred, then include them in the loan, and that'll be over the 5 years. Or if the admin fee is more than what they would have paid, for example, at 1.5%, which is a total interest, a total interest profit for the common good of £383.27. So if the admin fee is any more than that, then I'd say that we'll absorb that. Because I'm wanting to get this done. I think they've been waiting for a while. We need to get this sorted. I doubt the admin fee is going to be any more than £400 anyway. So I'm trying to cover us on both sides. If the admin fee is over that, then it means that we're able to at least go back to the Millennium Centre and say, well, here's your terms and here's what we've got, rather than pushing this into our next meeting, which will be in 3 months' time. So does that make sense, Chair? Have I said that eloquently, or have I said that like a 4-year-old?
So are you suggesting that we give the £10,000 at an interest-free loan?
So an interest-free loan plus the admin fee. If the admin fee is greater than £383.27, then I would suggest we just attach an interest rate of 1.5% to the loan, and that is basically £383.27. My reason for that is because that gives the Millennium Centre a very clear, these are our terms. I don't want to say an admin fee and then we go back to the Millennium Centre in a month's time once we find out what the admin fee is and say it's £1,000, and then we're another month down and we're still nowhere near it, and we've got an admin fee that's going to make it impossible. We've done all the work on this. We've used all of Gillian's time on this, so we're down the time, we're down the fees anyway, and it might not be affordable for the Millennium Centre. That's my worry, because we've already taken a long time to get here.
Yeah, I maybe just to keep us as a sort of balance option, maybe if we just set a nominal, very small interest rate, something like 1%, which you know that they should have no bother paying back. I mean, that's a huge undercut from the original proposed 4.5%. I don't know if it's maybe good standing to just get rid of an interest altogether, maybe because of admin fees and stuff. But Robert, yeah.
What happens if the admin fees and your interest, as you're saying, being nominal, could end up being over £500 £600, which I think it would be a bit unrealistic for the Millennium Centre to be using money for that purpose. But do you feel we should just be giving them the money? I know, it maybe seems a bit strange not having any interest, but we do need to cover the cost to do it, but I don't think you should be charging them interest.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Robert. I mean, if it was up to me, I would just give them the money and help them out. But I don't know where that leaves us legally, because we don't have all the information to hand to us right now to make this decision, unfortunately. Andre.
So, Robert, going back to to our committee back in June, was it that we agreed this? I moved that we give the full amount to the Millennium Centre. We take some out of our spending fee and we take some out of our capital fund and just give them it as a grant loan. But Councillor Scobie came back requesting that £10,000 of it was a loan and the £9,000 element of it was a grant. So that leaves us in this position of having to actually work out the loan terms. So it's an agreed position of a previous committee, which has left us with this.
Yeah, and I suppose it was the original decision of the committee some months ago, as Andrew's just said, to give it as a loan with some interest. So I don't want to go against that because that was an agreed decision of committee, and that's why we've got this report in front of us today. I mean, I don't really distinguish much between giving someone the grant point blank and doing up an interest-free loan. That sort of leaves us, what's the difference in a way? But yeah, Andrew.
Chair, I'm just going to move it, Sam. I don't think our admin fees are going to be that terrible. If we do end up with an admin fee over 1% over the 1% interest rate, then we're just going to have to suck that up, I think. So, Chair, I suggest that we loan this money over 5 years at 1% interest rate, and hopefully that gets us moving forward. And hail me if I'm wrong. So I'm happy to take that.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Ingalls.
Yeah, I really don't want to get involved too much in this. Andrew's suggesting a 5-year. In the paper, I think it suggests a 10-year.
Yep, it does say 10 years in the paper. Andrew, I don't know, are you recommending we give the rest of it scot-free to them for those 5 years, or what are your sums on this?
Sorry, Ben, can I just come back to finish?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering whether a prudent approach would be to, if you set the precedent that it's an interest-free loan, would it be prudent to maybe look at recouping the interest that the money would accrue within the fund, which, according to your paper, looks to be about 2.63% at the end of March? That way, it's not just an out-and-out gift, as you say. If it's an interest-free loan, you know, you might as well just give them the money. That's just my observations, Ben. I don't want to get involved too much in it, but
no, you're very welcome to jump in. And Andrew, have you any thoughts on that proposal?
Sorry, Chair, I've been working on like your average kind of personal loan terms, which is 5 years. But that's the £10,000 over the 5 years. Is, as I said, it would be like £180 payback. £10,000 over 10 years at 1% is £87.58 a month, and that the loan would then cost the Millennium Centre £510.12. So that would be a £510.12 profit to the common good from that. And when I say profit, I mean that would cover our admin fee. I think £500 would more than cover an admin fee. I don't see it being much, if I'm being entirely honest with you. But okay, what do we think? I'm interested to hear what Robert's thinking.
Robert, yeah.
Robert, you were already.
I'm thinking here. The name of this is the Stranraer Common Good Fund, and if you can't give the money to the people of Stranraer, what's the point of having all this money sitting in your fund for the benefit of Blue Dolphin to make you money you don't even want to spend? You know, I don't. So what? You're not getting the reward in a couple of you'd have had it invested with them, but being invested with them isn't doing the people of the town any good, is it? Does it matter if it's interest free? It's the money, but actually it's the people of the town's money. It's no your money to decide you need to make 2.63%.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Robert. No, I'm with you on that one. The reason that legal services have proposed this interest fee is because it was the agreement of the committee from Councillor Scobie in summer. So we're just following that. But we do have 2.2 that there has been a material change in circumstances we'll be agreeing to. So it's up to us if we want to throw that aside and make a new decision to do interest free, or as Andrew's just suggested with his proposal. Andrew, can you just repeat your numbers on that one for Gillian to note down? Yeah.
So Chair, I'm going to it's deal or no deal time, so it is now, Chair. And this will be like my 5th time and hopefully my last time. So Jerry, I'm going to suggest we offer 2 options to the Millennium Centre: a 5-year option and a 10-year option, both at the same interest, which I'm going to say, is at 1%, just so that we can get back our admin costs, Robert. Not because I want to tax them at all or put in, but just so we're covering our admin and to be consistent with the decision that was made before, which I didn't agree with necessarily. But so a £10,000 loan over 10 years at 1%, Gillian, would be a monthly repayment of £87.58. And that means the total amount repayable will be £10,000, £510.12. Therefore, the loan will cost you £510.12. So the interest that accumulates off that will be £510.12. So that's the 10 years. If we reduce that down to a 5-year option, if they want to take it under a shorter term, are you ready for this one, Gillian? Yep. So a 5-year term at 1% would be £170.92 a month, and that'd be a total repayable of £10,000, £255.07. Therefore, the loan cost will be £255.07. So I would suggest that we offer both those terms to them. And and as I said, the only reason why I think we need to put a percentage of interest on it is because we are going to get charged on the withdrawal of that money.
Okay. Robert?
I think that sounds very good proposals, and it'd be interesting to see what they come back with. And will you make a decision before our next meeting on that, what terms they want, so you don't have to wait till the next meeting before you make a decision?
Andrew?
I'm happy to leave that under delegation now, Chair, and allow Gillian to push that forward if they come back with an agreement on either of those terms.
Yep, so we'll reach out to the Millennium Centre with the options as Andrew's just outlined, and then it'll be up to the Millennium Centre and officers to make that decision with them going forward under those terms. Okay. Any other comments? No. Okay, so we'll move to the recommendations. Members are asked to 2.1 note the agreement to award the Millennium Centre the £10,000 from the Stranraer Common Good Loans Fund on a loan basis. 2.2, we've agreed that there's been a material change in circumstances. 2.3, consider and agree what the loan arrangements for the £10,000 loan are to be, including what the interest rate is and when the loan is repayable. And 2.4, agreed to instruct legal services to draw up a loan agreement based on the decisions as Councillor Giusti has suggested. Gillian, can you just repeat that back to us if you can? Thanks.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I just want to make sure I've got it right. So there's two options being presented. We've got the £10,000 loan over 5 years with a 1% interest, or we've got the £10,000 over a 10-year period with a 1% interest rate. Is that correct? Yeah. I'm got a yes from Councillor Gussie. So what I'll do today is I'll go back to colleagues in Finance, Treasury and Legal to let them know the decision that Stranraer Common Good subcommittee have made. And it's either the 5 or 10 year loan option to the Millennium Centre with the 1% interest. And obviously officers will work together with legal services around anything that comes up in relation to like subsidy control or with financial, with the sort of financial services and the team there. So yeah, hopefully that is us got everything we need.
Magic, thank you. And we'll get some clarity around whether Councillor Giusti is very happy. We'll get some clarity around whether the money is immediately accessible in each financial year, or if we need to wait until the end. Yeah.
Yep, my understanding with the money that's used for the loan, there's not money coming from your capital. So it's not money that's sort of with Brew and Dolphin at the moment, from my understanding. So okay. There's not going to be a withdrawal from any of your capital funds by Brew and Dolphin.
Okay. Yep. Andrew, you had your hand up there briefly. Are you wanting in?
Well, I was just going to say, I thought that cash would be going back into our capital pot and not into our spending pot, but Gillian's just answered basically there.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so that's an agreed decision. Thank you. Next item, applications for financial assistance from the Stranraer Common Good Fund. So we've got one application in front of us today.
Well, where's this?
You would note that we've got an estimated free income balance of £4,600 left to disperse. The application in front of us is from the furniture project. They are asking for £3,609 towards their project, which is to increase their server size to enhance their online presence. It's a digital upgrade, I suppose, for their click and collect service. Might want to note that this has been in front of our scoring panel, who have recommended no award due to the furniture project being a historical use or applicant towards the Common Good Fund for the last 3 years. And it says in our criteria that we won't support applications which have been done for more than 3 consecutive years. So that's why there's been an unfortunate nil award recommendation. I'll open it up to comments, or if you just want to take your time to read it, that's fine. But does anyone have any thoughts? I'll just give you all 2 minutes to read it. Gillian, can I just ask, page 77, 4.13 at the top, it says, if reminded to support the recommendation of the scoring panel, there would be 4,600 left over. Well, the scoring panel recommendation is nothing, so I'm sort of reading a sentence and wondering why it's there, because if we're making a decision to spend nothing, then we'll still have the same amount of money. Yeah.
Thanks for that observation, Chair. Yeah.
It's just the wording that's getting me. Yeah.
It's just to make it clear, like if members were minded to go with the recommendations made, then that's what would be left over for the for your next meeting. But obviously, it's entirely a member's decision.
Yep. Okay. Councillor Giusti.
Sure. Sorry, Chair, I've got that many PDFs up from all the reports on my computer here. I was struggling to find it there. This is a difficult one, Chair. It is, because when I read it, I get what they're trying to do, but it's not like a project that's going to be a full benefit to Stranraer. It's not like the bicycle project or something like that they've done, which is a clear and direct benefit to Stranraer. This is to a degree more like a business upgrade to allow them to sell more and to become more visible on the online marketplace. And then when you're looking at their bank balance and what they've got there, I mean, you consider that they've got £164,000, £288 for their quarter. What they're asking for is actually a drop in the ocean compared to their revenue and their net revenue. So that this is where I struggle with this one, Chair. Is it that necessary? I'm happy to hear other members, but that's what I'm thinking of right now.
No, thank you. There's a lot of considerations here. We've got to take into account the amount of money that we have available left, which is very, very slim. This would essentially use up the rest of our money. And they do have, I understand they've got running costs and ring fence funds, but they do, as an organisation, have £212,961 in their piggy bank, which is a lot more than we've got in ours as a common good. So, Robert, can I bring you in? Yeah.
I'm a bit concerned. They have a good, healthy balance in their pot, and am I reading this right in saying they're leaving £48,627 aside for redundancy? It says future redundancies or what they have to pay out, because I don't see why we should be giving them money if they're paying that out for redundancy, and they've got that money lying. And it is their fourth year they're applying, and I mean. Mm-hmm. I don't think when they've got money there that they're needing to be coming back to us when there's other issues that we can spend the money on.
Yeah. Andrew. Yeah.
Chair, I've got a lot of sympathy for the Stranraer Furniture Project. I think what they do is fantastic. I think in general we've supported them before for some very good projects. I feel like this is too related to the expansion of their business, and I don't think there's enough direct benefit to the people of Stranraer in the sense of, for example, they've done a bike project in the past. That was a direct benefit to the people of Stranraer, and I know that they're only able to do that if they're making money through their other avenues. But I feel like this application is a wee bit too commercial for us to be able to support. I don't know if I'm out of bounds there with what I'm saying. I'm not concerned too much about the 4 years, what the scoring panel gave. I just feel like it's maybe a wee bit too commercial for us, and the fact that if you're sitting with £164,000 to run for your quarter, what they're asking for is a small drop out of that. Now, if they can't find that in a year, for example, to invest in themselves, that kind of money, I think I think we go with the recommendation from the scoring panel.
Okay, Councillor Ingalls.
Yeah, here we go again. Sorry. I'm reading their application, and it says This money will help to deliver the click and collect service, which will focus on providing affordable, high quality, reusable items to those facing economic difficulties. So that'll be the benefit from this fund, according to their application. Just to draw your attention to that. Thanks, Chair.
No, thank you. I think oh, Andrew, you've got your hand back up again, have you? Yeah.
It's more just to come back on what Councillor Inglis has added there. I get that, absolutely, but there's still that financial aspect to it, that it's a click and collect that you're paying for. So it's not a click and collect as in, oh, I need this, that, the next, and you're getting it for free or as a benefit to the community. It's a click and collect in the sense of it's expanding their business as such. It's difficult to differentiate between the business aspect of what they do and the charitable aspect. And I think that this aspect of this application just focuses a wee bit too much on how do they create more money when you're sitting there, as Robert's pointed out, with a redundancy package that's ring-fenced of £48,000. I'm struggling with this one. I'm in two minds. Yeah.
So I'm sort of minded to go. Oh, Councillor Inglis again. Yeah.
Sorry, just one other thing that springs to mind about the amount of unrestricted funds, if that's what it is that they're holding. Organisations such as this need to hold 6 months running costs within their unrestricted funds to cover the running costs of the organisation should fund and dry up. So maybe that's where they're. I haven't had a chance, Chair, to have a look at their full finances. This kind of came to me a wee bit late, but again, just to highlight that, you know, they need to hold an unrestricted balance enough to carry them through 6 months. Thank you.
Yeah, it's difficult for us to really comment on their sort of business operations because, you know, businesses need to set aside money for emergencies and all sorts of various things. But I'm sort of minded to go with the recommendations on the basis that I think in this committee in specific, we have had a sort of historical tendency to, you know, try and always agree things, and, you know, because we like helping organizations and giving out money, but I've seen it a lot where we do go against the scoring panel's recommendations and against our own criteria, because, you know, we want to be nice and help people, but under the criteria, the reason for that this is being refused is because we've helped them for 3 years in a row, you know, following our own criteria, which I think we should do more often. And it is communicated to them that we will only support them for 3 years in the criteria. So I'm happy, that's just my view, and I would go with the recommendations on that basis. And I'm assuming the monies would then roll over into the next financial year. Gillian, can you get some clarity around that? I mean, you said we've got a committee in February, did you say? But is the application for the common good, it's not open, is it? Still.
February, I'll need to check the website whether the applications are still open or whether we, I think on the website, then this meeting is the last meeting that's advertised currently, but I can get the web updated.
Okay, thank you. Andrew, are you content with going with the recommendations then?
I'm content with that. I am content with that. As you know, Chair, I'm probably one of the worst culprits for giving money out in this committee, but I don't see an absolute direct benefit to the community that I can overturn the scoring panel comments.
Yeah, okay. So we'll move to the recommendations. 2.1, we've noted the free income balance of £4,600. We've noted the criteria for funding and
the recommendations. 75.
Sorry, Robert / Fiona, can you just, yeah, thanks. We've noted the grant criteria and we're agreeing to go with the recommendations of no awards, so the money will roll over. Thank you. Okay, next item. Stranraer Common Good Fund criteria review. This report provides members with an update from the workshop, which was held to look at the Common Good Fund criteria. We're also being suggested to recommend £3,000 to be ring-fenced annually for Christmas events, and for an additional meeting to be held by the Stranraer Common Good specifically for the Christmas event funds. We're being asked to consider applications to the fund twice a year, being in June and November. And yeah, so it's the changed criteria as set out in Appendix 3. Do we have any questions or comments? One thing that I would just like to kick us off with is I see the Common Good Fund as a sort of fund of last resort. And I feel like one thing which is maybe missing from it is we've got this issue of ad hoc meetings, where if there is a group which is lobbying for an ad hoc meeting, it falls on the chairman to make that decision. I'm speaking from the chair's perspective here, where this has happened. I haven't felt comfortable acting unilaterally and making these decisions from above. So with the agreement of the committee, I'd like to remove that recommendation that this is delegated to the chairman to make this decision on ad hoc meetings. I would just recommend that organisations stick to the meetings as scheduled. But I'll open it up to comments and any thoughts on that recommendation. Councillor Giusti.
Thanks, Chair. When I was with this one, this item in 2.3, where I asked to agree a ring fence amount for Christmas, my question is our November meeting too late for that, Gillian? Are we maybe worth having that meeting a wee bit earlier for our ring fence funding for Christmas? And then secondly, Chair, I think we need to leave the option for an ad hoc meeting in there, because there is that we are supposed to be the fund of last resort. When's last resort? You don't know if it's going to be in May or June, or if it's going to be in November. So you can't tell that, and that's the difficulty with it. I do understand the putting on the chair's shoulders. So I would say, could we change the criteria so that it can either be called by the chair or by half the 50% of the committee, and an ad hoc meeting can be called if we've got a substantive item coming forward, because it could be anything that's coming forward as a last resort item. I don't necessarily believe the Common Good should be a last resort, but at every point my other councillors and other members disagree with me. But that's the way we're going forward, and that's me for that point, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Gillian, can you come in on Andrew's points there? Yeah.
Point number one was about the timings of the meeting. I believe at the member seminar there was a discussion about an October meeting specifically. If members were minded to support the suggestion of the £3,000 being ring fenced for Christmas, that there be an October Stranraer subcommittee meeting held specifically for that discussion. So it would be, if I remember rightly, I think it would be like application or expressions of interest opening like kind of summertime, but closing sort of late September, early October for the activities to be presented to members in October time. So it would mean there would be two Common Good subcommittee meetings in quite quick succession, but for two different purposes, I think was what the conversation that members were having. But I'm happy to be led by members what would work better.
Okay, yeah. It's difficult because currently the precedence right now seems to be that we schedule our Common Good meetings on the same day as an area committee, because that's easy for, you know, recording and stuff like that. I'm just wondering, I mean, I can see how November would be too late for planning Christmas things and stuff, but I don't know, because are we only allowed to like schedule them on days where there's area committees, Gillian, or?
I don't actually know the process of sort of going through it. I can certainly follow that up with Modern Gov to see what the actual sort of process is between, like, with the calendar invites.
Okay. Okay. I've got Robert first.
It may be hard to believe, but at Community Council, we've been talking about Christmas since August time, and we knew, is this the £3,000 Ben Lingfin money that we've talked about, where we're allocating it? You were at the meeting the last night. We've got the Millennium Centre as our partners. Is this different money?
So this is Common Good Fund money, Robert, which is specifically a sort of council thing. The money which was discussed at the Community Council this week was your own money as a community council from wind farms and such. Different pots of money, different organisations. Yeah, Andrew.
Sorry, Rod. This is a top up that I suggested in our briefing that we had a couple of months ago. I suggested, because we quite often get groups coming to us for money for Christmas to do their Christmas fairs, etc. Maybe it might be worth us having a ring-fenced £3,000 that we will provide and have that ready, and just so that everyone knows it's there. And our ambition with it, I think, is to be able to have a full calendar of Christmas events through December. That's the ambition of it in our minds, but how that comes to fruition, we won't know until next December. I did have something else before I went on to that. Oh yeah, as for the scheduling of the meetings, we don't have to be scheduled alongside the area committees. Chair, sorry. But it's a good question. It does make sense to schedule us with the area committee. So it's a question of, could we actually change the area committees to match the common good? Or is that, is that me high hope?
You might be playing with fire there, Andrew, but Robert?
I think everyone agrees that in the town there is a real lack of expenditure on Christmas events, because it is getting, the lighting situation, the tree situation, the whole thing is getting quite dismal looking. And we've talked about it at various meetings, and just trying to access more funds to spend some money, but it needs to be a long-term project, and actually thinking about it just more or less when you get Christmas past. So I mean, you can easily be talking about this at your common good meeting. If you want to allocate some money for different organisations, you don't need to wait till they come back to you at the last minute. I mean, you should be able to think about this a wee bit ahead of the game, and as you're saying, have a meeting at the turn of the summer, you know, then just let the organisations know that they have to contact you sooner.
Yep, no, absolutely. I'm conscious. I mean, we've just agreed, or we've just examined the furniture projects application, which is the only one which is before us. So we haven't actually had anyone apply to do Christmas events this cycle. So I'm wondering where the merit is in setting aside a specific amount if people aren't actually coming towards us anyway to do Christmas events. Andrew, yeah. They
have in the past, Chair. There was one year that we spent about £6,000, £7,000 on Christmas.
Oh, really?
Okay. Over various things. But the problem is it's you then get onto this reoccurring. We will not fund 3 years in a row, and then it's a case of they're not encouraged to come back. The £3,000 ring-fenced Christmas funds that I proposed is that it doesn't affect the criteria. That criteria doesn't affect that, so groups can reapply every year without that criteria going against them. And one thing, actually, Chair, now since we do have a surplus this year, is it far too late for us now to be opening a door and saying, well, tell you what, there's £3,000 this year if we can get some late minute Christmas applications, and delegate it to governance or to Gillian if they pass the scoring panel that we're willing to just give out up to £3,000 worth on Christmas. Is that something that maybe we should be worth thinking about, or is it too late in the day?
I would defer to governance on that one. I mean, you're right. That's a good point, actually, that because we've just not agreed the previous application, there is a little bit of money sitting there. which isn't being spent. So Gillian, how would that work in terms of opening it up again until Christmas this year? It's very, very soon notice. Yeah.
I honestly don't know in relation to like the sort of capacity of reopening applications for a specific. So we don't currently have an expression of interest in place for the specific Christmas funds. So organisations would have to be completing the full Stranraer Common Good application form, and it would go through the same scoring panel process. So again, if the scoring panel were available to meet prior to that, and then it would have to come back to another Stranraer Common Good subcommittee meeting.
Yeah, we also I'm conscious that we also do the council does by default now give money towards Christmas related things through area committee funding. For instance, I think it's about around a couple £100 each village has got for Christmas decorations. So there is council money already set aside specifically for Christmas stuff. Just to bear that in mind. But I'll bring Robert in. Yeah.
I think it'll open up a can of worms, Ben, because after what happened with the fireworks and the rest of the stuff in the town, you're going to cause a lot of infighting in the town if you suddenly open up money in the town that we didn't know about, because there's enough going on in the town as it is, trying to sort out Christmas things without everybody falling out over it. So I think you just let things be just now, or we're really going to have a problem in the town.
Thanks, Robert. Andrew?
I think he's all right, Chair. It was maybe high hopes that as soon as I said it, I looked at the date and I was like, nah, there's no chance in 10 days are we going to be able to get £3,000 out of there. So that leaves us with this other question, Chair, that you raised, and some that Robert touched on earlier on, the state of Stranraer's Christmas lights and the tree, and you've just mentioned that the area committee is putting money towards the festivities and upgrading these lights, etc. Should we be making a contribution to that? I know we've not been asked for it, but can we say, well, tell you what, we've got this spare cash, we'll buy a set of lights, or we'll do something, or we'll replace something. I know that we might not be able to do that for this year, but if we buy it, we've got it sitting and it can go up next year. Is that reasonable?
Just for clarity, Andrew, can you put into a form of words what you're suggesting as a recommendation then?
So if I was to put it in as a recommendation rather than just a discussion point like what I've done, it'd be a case of, well, what have we got? I was going to say the £3,000 like what we had ring fenced, but if we really wanted to, we could put the 4,000, and I don't have the full amount, but what we've got left in our budget, should we go and buy a set of lights to replace something that's in the town that currently is maybe looking a wee bit shoddy, or maybe to add to it, just on the basis of what you guys have been saying about how the lights aren't looking that great anymore? Should we be investing in lights for next year? I imagine by the time we get that money spent and buy something, we won't be in time for this year. But if we can buy something and have it ready for next year, would that be an appropriate use of our funds?
I think we need to establish in the first instance if there's a need for that, as in, which specific lights would need upgrading. So I don't know if we can, we could set aside the money until we get those answers, yeah, which can be communicated to members over email maybe in the interim. But Robert?
That amount of money would never touch the sides. We've investigated before upgrading lights, and you're talking about tens of thousands of pounds to do something worthwhile. And the only other comment that Councillor Gisty said about people keeping coming back, you can make it as a one-off thing, a major investment, that it was going to be something to show for it. But I don't think it's going to be the amount of money that people are going to keep coming back each year. I know we were struggling to get our money this year, thanks to the costs of the rental shops or even the selection boxes. These sort of things, but you need to know in advance it was there. But I don't think it'll be a repeat suggestion each year that people apply. But they could use say the community council could apply for that whole £3,000 and actually buy something, and maybe get more money put towards it for wind farm money, that you could actually spend 10 or 20,000 in lights and actually make a difference, because you'll never see it in the town unless you spend a reasonable amount of money.
Yeah, no, thanks, Robert. I'm looking back at the recommendations, and I mean, I wasn't at the workshop seminar when it was raised to ring fence money for Christmas, but I'm just thinking, I mean, we have 2 meetings a year, one just before Christmas and one around summer. I'm wondering if it's maybe, rather than saying we're going to set aside such and such money for Christmas specifically, if we maybe just said that the common good monies will be split, ring fence 50% for each meeting per year. If you see what I mean, rather than saying Christmas stuff in specific at the end of the year. I don't know, Andrew, do you see where I'm going with this? So if we split it up 50% for each meeting throughout the year.
Again, Chair, it comes back to this idea of where, and this is the criteria that the other councillors want to go with, not necessarily me, and that is that the common good is a last resort funder. And if you make it this point where these groups are coming to you as last resort funding, and you're only allowing, you could have a last resort funding and have a crisis of some sort where nobody's been able to get funding or something like that later on in the year, and you're only allowing them 50%. But then you've also got that question of what happens at the start of the year. I think if we do that, we're tying our shoelace a wee bit too tightly. I think if we leave an amount there that is that's ring fence for Christmas, I think you create it and they'll come, and that will allow the likes of the Millennium Centre, the events group, whoever wants to come in and do any kind of Christmas thing, they've got that option to come to us, and any of that money that's not spent will go back to our pot for the rest of the town. For me, it's about making this fund as easy as possible for the people, well, for the groups of Stranraer to access, for the people of Stranraer. I think our criteria right now, if I'm being honest, I think it's a wee bit too laborious, in my opinion. And
Okay.
that's how I'm going.
Okay, no, thank you. Yeah, I think we're getting to a way forward here. So, agreeing £3,000 to be ring fenced annually for Christmas events. I'm fine doing that if that's what members wish. Agreeing to consider applications to the fund in June and November. Also, Gillian, can we look at the I think it's page 87, appendix 1, the criteria. We're looking at the ad hoc meeting request, which is supposed to go to chairman and a vice chairman. Well, we don't have a vice chairman, so we can get rid of that line anyway. But if ad hoc meeting requests can go to all members, and it just requires it would require a majority, because if 50% say yes and 50% say no, then you're not getting anywhere. So
the approval of 2/3 of the members.
Yeah, 3 out of 4. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay, I'm just writing this on the updated criteria that was discussed at the workshop.
And Chair, do we, sorry to interject here, but do we add that these requests come directly from the group to the ward, to the appropriate officer, and not through members?
I would say they have to go through the proper channels. So if governance receives an application which has a specific request for an ad hoc meeting, then officers will then go to ward members through the appropriate protocol. Okay, Robert.
I'm only saying, you're saying about your summer and November meetings for that £3,000 ring fence money. Should you not just say, let groups know that this for the summer meeting decision, because November's far too late? So why are you even saying that? You should just make it in the summer window, that people actually have time to make a wee plan. So let people know that there potentially is that ring fence money available for the right reason, for you to make a decision whatever time your meeting is in the summer. But November's, you might as well make it for the next year, because it's far too late to organise anything.
Gillian, can I defer to you on that one? Because if
Yeah,
you think
certainly.
that's something, yeah.
As part of the recommendations, there was going to be an additional meeting to be held by Stranraer Common Good specifically for these funds as required. So it wouldn't be discussed where your typical applications to Stranraer Common Good, because it would, I'm currently working with legal services on relation to the Stranraer Common Good application form at the moment, but also in my mind I've got that there would be an expression of interest if members were minded to support the £3,000 being ring fenced. Then that would be more an expression of interest as opposed to your full application, because I think part of the conversations, Councillor Gusty, you were there, so correct me if I'm wrong, was that money would be split equally amongst groups applying. So groups wouldn't necessarily be asking for a set amount of money. It would be groups would be putting in for it, and then it would, I think the conversation would be split equally amongst groups.
So Gillian, that wasn't my idea. That was the other councillors in the room's idea, and I didn't necessarily agree with it. For me, it would just be a case of it comes in like a proper application, and we would be looking to support a calendar of events. So we wouldn't be wanting to give, let's say, the full £3,000 away to one group just to take in. We would be wanting to split it amongst others, just to give them all a bit of support. But the other members at that point in time wanted it to be equally split. I think that the way, because if you do this equal split idea, one group might only need £700, one group might only want £1,000, one group might need 500, another group needs 500. So again, once you start making it laborious like that and saying an equal split between things, you just create a bit of difficulty there. One of the questions that I've got is maybe more for Robert here, in the sense of, Robert, you've dealt with the community council with more Christmas funding, etc., in this town than what most folk in this room probably have dealt with. So you're saying to me, well, you're saying to us right now that a November meeting is no good, which we agree with, and we've put in an October meeting. Is that still too late, or should we be looking at this at even September? Is that your thoughts, Robert?
Well, I know we use the Millennium Centre as our partners to spend our money, and they would normally be starting to have their meetings August, September time, certainly September the latest. And I feel you need to have time to make a plan. And October may be okay if we know the money is going to be there, because we could plan the expenditure, but you need to know you're going to get something. But my other comment would be, you're talking about equally dividing among different groups. Who's going to decide? You're going to have to put a formal application in for the amount of money. If you're going to decide equally who's going to get the money, how are you going to decide who deserves the money more than others? Because there could be more than two groups put in. And once people know it's there, it's making it more complicated. Whereas if you had a formal application, but it was known in the summertime, or even to put an application in for the October time, that you would know that there's a fair chance you're going to get, say, £1,000, you could plan then. Because the next that would cover our costs for fair rides in the middle of the town, for the selection boxes, these sort of things. We could find that money, and that way we could spend money for the people in the town, or provide gifts for the kids that can't afford them. This year we can't do that because there's no Trains toy shop this year, so the kids are only getting things. They're only getting the selection box, which is costing us 30% more than normal this year. But if you put the application in, you knew you were going to get the £1,000 or whatever it was as an extra money, that would be the way it should work.
Andrew?
So, Chair, that's put into my mind that maybe if we're going to have a Christmas application meeting, it should maybe be at the start of September, to give them that time to actually come together, have their application in, and then they know exactly what they're doing. Am I right? Is that what I've heard correctly there, Robert? Because you said September's late for you to start discussing this.
That's when we start making the plan, and we need to know, because Stephen's been at us because he only got the cost finalised there, and we were meeting the last night. but we knew the plan ahead, but we still need to keep within our budget of what we can get. But if we know we've got a wee bit extra to spend, then we can plan accordingly for the expenditure. The only other, this is maybe a very bold statement, but you know, we're saying about the lights and the rest of it. You know, would it be something like £20,000 expenditure for the people of the town? Would that be totally unrealistic to take out of the money that the Common Good Fund has got? Because you could actually make a difference, and you could promote it as something that the money is doing to the people of the town, and it would actually be very much benefited and appreciated by the town.
Andrew?
So, Chair, coming on Robert's point there. So I get what you're saying there, Robert, and you've actually maybe hit a good wee, you maybe hit a wee gold nugget. That won't affect this report though. So what I would say is on that, and what Robert's just said, Gillian, could we bring back a report, or Chair, sorry, through you, Chair, actually, could we bring back a report, maybe investigating, maybe looking at the Christmas lights in Stranraer? And I imagine the council's already got this somewhere in the area committee papers or whatever, because the area committee's looked at this. Do we have a maintenance schedule or something in the council that tells us what lights we've got that are no good, what are coming up for a renewal, or do we just, as an area committee, go out as an area committee and say we don't like those lights, we don't like those lights, we don't like them, and we want to replace that, and that? What is the function of how we could do that, Gillian? I think is our first question, because I'm perfectly happy as an area committee for the folk of the town to say we'll put in a capital expenditure of even 30,000-40,000 to get it right. If we can make Stranraer look good and right for Christmas and attract more people to come into the town and shop, make it something aesthetically pleasing, even if we can make it like a social media kind of thing, where over the world people are sharing TikToks of Stranraer's the Christmas town. I doubt that's going to happen, but you know, hope high. If you're going to do something, hope high. And this is one of these few points, Chair. This is one of these few areas where you and I have got the ability to actually spend some money and really actually help this town. And I don't know. It's something we probably need to look into.
Yeah, so I suppose for Gillian, we can get a list of the current Christmas lights in Stranraer, their condition, you know, in line with what Andrew's just suggested, you know, if we want to look at this as an area of investment to make the town look better at Christmas and stuff. Although I would be more conscious that, you know, do we have enough money in our pots to be funding Christmas lights and upgrading them, and to be funding Christmas events, which groups are going to be doing? You know, it's almost a this or that situation. But Andrew, I'll let you back in, and then Robert. Yeah.
Sorry, Chair, I was going to suggest we use it as a capital expenditure and don't touch our money.
Right. Okay, no, yeah, that solves that question then. Robert.
I think that suggestion's a very good one-off capital expenditure. It's a good idea. And another part of this would be the businesses would be in a partnership with you, because I'm sure the businesses in town that are going to benefit would happily contribute to a mass investment to actually make the town look better and bring more people in. And you can see what's happened with the Stranraer Oyster Festival, how you can actually promote Stranraer. And with all the money that's getting spent, hopefully the Jaws was finished with that point, the middle of the town would actually look really good. So why not use the finishing of the Jaws with the whole of the money that's been spent in the town as a big focus to upgrade the town and make it look better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so moving onward, I'm looking at page 87.10, which says grants will not be paid, and then there's a whole list of variables for things which we won't give money for. We have just been lobbied recently by the fireworks group, which is a recurring sort of thing. Now, I am aware that some other common good funds in the region do have. We will not be giving money towards fireworks as a criteria point. Just in terms of best value, you know, this is a very, very small pot of money. is it best used in something which, you know, literally explodes and and is gone like that? You know, do we want to add that as a criteria? As in, so we're happy to spend money on events, but not towards fireworks. And that would be something which I'm just throwing out there. Andrew, what are your thoughts?
Chair, I understand I understand what you're saying. It is a bit of it is a lot of money to watch go burning in the sky, but it is a cultural event, and it does bring a lot of people out. A lot of people do enjoy fireworks, and I think a proper event with fireworks does limit and does reduce the amount of smaller fireworks displays, well, smaller private fireworks displays. That being said, do we then run a risk of, for example, funding the Oyster Festival or supporting the likes of the Oyster Festival, which also has fireworks? Because we're saying we won't support events that have fireworks, or we won't support firework projects. Well, if we are going to say that, and then we're going to say to the Oyster Festival, right, okay, well, here's £5,000 for the Oyster Festival, but that £5,000 basically, when they're doing fireworks.
I mean, there's nothing stopping us giving money towards anything else under the sun, but it's just whether we think it's best value for the people of Stranraer to see this small pot of money be used on something which it's gone like that, you know. Robert.
I don't actually think the fireworks were that missed in the town, to be quite honest. And I think Councillor Gistey's point, or Councillor Dashwood's point, the money could be spent on a lot better things than blowing them up in the sky in 20 minutes. And I think it's a bit of an ego trip for certain people that I don't actually think it's needed in the town. And if you begin to get feedback from the police, from local organisations, if it's such a big loss in the town, or if they would rather see that amount of money spent on something else. And the Oyster Festival thing is they've got plenty of money in their own pot. They don't need to say that we are providing the money for their fireworks. And they did try it the year before, which I thought worked very well, the aeroplanes with a display. And you can get silent fireworks now as well, which you don't need to have the noise, because a lot of the pet owners in the town are delighted, would be actually pleased if there's no fireworks ever again in the town. So I think I would never like to see the fireworks coming back, to be quite honest, because they don't contribute anything to the charity organisations anyway in the town.
No, thanks, Robert. So I would personally want to put that forward as a recommendation. I mean, we could put as a recommendation, we won't spend money on fireworks except for silent fireworks. I don't know if that's a better use of money, Andrew, as a halfway house solution, but Councillor Ingalls.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just an observation again. I was approached by a head teacher who asked about a fireworks display in my ward, in Ward 2, sorry. And when explained that there wasn't going to be one this year, his concern was that it would increase the number of individuals who go out and buy fireworks and set them off in their back garden, which increases the number or the risk of accidents happening through small private fireworks displays. So the balance is an organised fireworks display, and everybody that comes out to that, you know, they can watch the fireworks display in safety. Whereas if that is not in the community, there is a risk that more and more families will have their own fireworks in their back garden. So that was just an observation again, Chair, that I'll throw in there. Thank you.
Thanks, David. I think there's a lot to take into account here, and it's about whether we think that this is an appropriate use for this specific fund. The council does run other events funding, which, you know, goes on fireworks. It's got the regional events growth and loads of other things. So I don't know. I'm leaning towards adding this as a criteria point, because, you know, it literally goes up and explodes. And, you know, if people think that that's a good use of the common good funds in the long term, for the long-term lasting benefit of the people of Stranraer, I'd maybe suggest no. But David, you've still got your hand up. Are you?
Sorry, Chair. No, that's just a legacy hand.
All right, thank you. Andrew?
So, Chair, one thing that I would say, and from what we've seen after this year, I think there's more of a push at government level to legislate against private fireworks and to come in and actually do some with fireworks. I think government legislation, I don't know how far they would go if they do take it on, but I believe it's been pushed at Scottish Government and UK Government level. I would suggest that we leave our criteria as it is. We don't necessarily have to fund them if they come asking for money. They'll go through the scoring panel like everybody else, so we don't necessarily have to fund them. Or if they come back, if they do come maybe for a lesser amount, I don't know. But I think for us to say no, we're not going to fund it at this point, maybe puts the common good in this in a light where we may get press, we may attract the press, we may attract poor publicity, because well, Robert did say that they weren't missed. I've seen an awful lot of the opposite sides as well on Facebook, and if we were to at this juncture turn around and say no, we're not going to fund it at all, I think what we're doing is maybe encouraging or we're going to bring that bad press upon ourselves. Whereas if we don't do that and we look for a robust application that meets the criteria, I think that's maybe a safer option. I don't know. It's in your hands, Chair.
It's a difficult one. It really is. Robert, do you have any thoughts, any wisdom for us?
Well, my wisdom is that I own 2 dogs, and I know various other people that own dogs and they hate fireworks. I'm quite agree with Andrew's point that maybe a lot of people in the town, you know, it did bring them together for that point. But I do feel we need to watch the publicity and the press side of it, because there's enough bad feeling about the town about the whole thing as it was this year's failed application. And I think you'd have to be very careful. But you could put the silent fireworks thing on, because that is a move forward. And I think the government may push this to try and pacify a lot of people, because you can see the publicity in Edinburgh, how the different issues in Edinburgh between the poor wee red pandas and the disturbance by use and all. So I mean, I think you'll see more and more moving away from fireworks or controlled displays. But whether we keep funding it or whether we can use, if we could say we're using that money for a better cause, you might get away with the fact you're not saying we're funding it. We are putting the money towards something else, which the town lights thing could actually be a good way of working this. That we're saying we're spending a lot of money on the Christmas lights instead of the fireworks, and you get away with it then quite happily. And that would be something that people in the town would appreciate and they would understand.
Yeah, I think the legislation which Andrew's referring to is the new power that councils have to establish firework control zones. This was a report which came to Dumfries and Galloway Council a few months ago, and it's something that councillors will be making a decision on if they wish to establish firework control zones. But until that happens, and it might not happen probably, but there's currently no legislation towards that locally in Stranraer anyway. Andrew.
So thanks, Chair. Thanks, Robert. So as a way forward, well, we say that we will, well, not say that we will support, but just say that applications for fireworks would have to be for is it what's the official name for these fireworks that don't create noise? Do they have an official name?
I don't know if there's a pyrotechnic expert on the committee, but
they're actually called silent fireworks. Because Sandra McLeod was talking about last night, because she's investigated this, and there actually is you can buy them quite easily now, and it's a way forward, I think, that you have silent displays.
Okay.
I'm happy to go with that.
Yeah, we could add that as a recommendation under point 10 of the criteria. So grants will not be paid for fireworks except silent fireworks, or whatever the appropriate term is. I'm sure Gillian can sort that out for us. So members, are we happy with the report? Or any other comments before I go to recommendations?
Chair, can I just check with you that I've captured the right amendments to page 99? So it's point 2. We're saying applications received will be considered by the subcommittee at their meetings throughout the year. Incidental applications may be considered on an ad hoc basis with the approval of 2/3 of the membership of Stranraer Common Good. Decisions will be dependent on budgets available. So I've got that amendment under number 2. And then for number 10, we've added G, and not fund fireworks except silent fireworks. Was there any other amendments to the criteria that's been updated?
Does our criteria need to be updated to give reference to the £3,000, which is ring fenced for Christmas events? Basically, what I mean by that is, are people, when they apply for it through the website, aware that there are specific money towards Christmas events?
So on the last, I think it's the very last appendix page of your report, I think it's point 19, there's funding, 3,000 in brackets. Yeah, will be ring fenced for specific project groups in Stranraer to produce a diary of events over the Christmas period. This doesn't need to be last resort funding, and funds will be shared out equally between applicants who expressed an interest. That was the wording, but happy to go with what members are thinking.
Okay, that makes me wonder, Lo, does the 3-year period apply to that as well? If it's the same organisations, as in how can we, because it's usually the same groups who do this every year, so how can we say that we're setting aside money for them, but then we're also saying, well, you've only got 3 years and then you're on your own? Yeah,
that's why we've done this. Well, that's why we asked for this, Chair. Sorry to jump in there. So I asked for this at the briefing because in previous years, even before you came to the council, Chair, we had the same organisations year in, year out come for money at Christmas, and they were being scored by the scoring panel for a nil award because of it being over 3 years. So with that, then you, as a councillor on this committee, you then have this idea of, well, I've got a nil award there, but I've got this, that, the next, and you're sitting. How do you merit it when you've got a good project that you know does well in the town? It's a Christmas project, for example, but it's up for a nil award against something that's up for an award that maybe you don't believe is as robust as the other project. So that's why my thoughts on this one were, allow the same, because you've got the same folk that come for it every year. Allow them to keep going, support them as much as we can, build our Christmas programme up as much as we possibly can, and support the community council. So we are matching the community council essentially with what we are putting in. Other councillors in the briefing did say that they wanted it to be split equally. I don't see that being a practicality. I think it should just be a come to the committee with your application and we'll decide there, because how can you split something equally when everybody, so if you've got, say, 4 organisations or 5 organisations, like Robert said earlier on, all coming in and they're all wanting different amounts of money, and you split that money equally and it shortchanges one of them, well, does that shortchanging mean that that application can't go forward at all? So then, with that application can't go forward at all and that project can't go forward, what happens to that money then? Does that then get put into the others? And then what? You just create a very difficult situation. Or do you then just say, well, there's 5 applications, and or do you just say that we're going to put out, similarly to what we've done with the area committee, you say, well, we've got £3,000, we're going to split that into 3 applications or 3 sets of £1,000, and it's a first come, first served on that. I don't know, Chair. But I would just take it as a face value, send your applications into us.
Yeah, that's sort of one of the reasons why I didn't really want to set aside a specific amount just for Christmas exactly, because it could land us in this sort of situation where you have lots of applications, but some are asking for more money than others, and then how do you make that split? Robert?
Do you not just... people put the application in and you assess each validity of each application and what benefit is going to be to the people of the town. So, I mean, you don't just want a lot of people coming in and maybe actually spending money on something that actually wasn't getting. You have to justify, and then you have to have actually feedback that it actually has done some good, not just spend money. And what's it just where does the money? How do you know what it's been spent on? Was it? I mean, the next it may be we applied for the whole £3,000 in 1 year, we deserved it, but you know, it may be other years you don't get in. But as long as you know it's there and you put a justifiable application in, and then you make a decision on what you think that actually benefit is going to be. And I do agree, Christmas is going to happen every year. So why do you keep the 3-year limit on it? If it's something it's there to actually benefit the people of town, there's no end limit, no year limit.
Yeah, that's a good point. And as I said earlier, we've got a sort of bad tendency in this committee to go against our own criteria, especially in regards to the 3-year limit. So, Andrew, how would you feel about taking out the 3-year limit? Because they're applying anyway, and I feel like it gives a reason for the scoring panel to, you know, recommend nil award in the first instance.
Sorry, Chair, when you say remove the 3-year limit, are you mean that in general? Because if you mean it in general, I absolutely agree. If you mean it specifically for the Christmas pot, that's why I said the Christmas pot with different rules that don't take that rule into account.
I would almost be tempted to say in general, Andrew, and just take the applications as they come. Yeah.
Well, I'll give you my opinion, Chair. My opinion is when you're in Stranraer, you're not in a big city like Glasgow here. You've got the same 5 organisations. You've got the Development Trust, you've got SWAZA, you've got the Millennium Centre. The Community Council I don't think have ever really came to us. You've got the Furniture Project, and then you've got a couple of other outliers that come to us for different things. So you're sitting with maybe maximum 10 organisations that really come to us for money. And if we are here to support the town, we need to be supporting these charities. And if you're putting a 3-year no return limit on them, are you actually? Well, not you. Sorry, I don't want to personalise this to you. Are we as a collective committee actually disbenefiting this town because we're not supporting these charities and these groups and these trusts? That's my opinion on it. Because it just seems arbitrary, like this random kind of like, oh, I've just plucked the 3 years out the sky. Well, why not go 5 years? Why not go 10 years? And then who's counting?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there. I wasn't a councillor when this criteria point was made or added, but I assume it came from a place of encouraging applicants to be self-sufficient going forward, you know, for different projects. But as you said, it's the same people each year, and they don't always have alternatives in terms of funding. So, Robert, can I bring you in? Yeah.
I would just assess each one its merit. You might need to watch this year because because one of the things we discussed a wee while ago was the furniture project, and we've said no because that's part of the criteria that are coming back. So, but I mean, we use that when we are getting our application for wind farm funding. We do be aware of people that keep coming back, and you know, McKinney would like people to get to bring in new people for funding, but it's not always possible. But I'm just saying that I think specifically the Christmas one, you definitely take it off for that. The other ones, I think you keep it, maybe have to review each case individually. I mean, it's difficult for the scoring panel. Maybe if you don't have that criteria, it gives them something to start on. But there may be a limited number of people in the town actually going to be applying to you. So it may be the 3-year thing isn't necessary, but you still need to review why they're keeping coming back to you.
Yeah, and Gillian, am I correct in saying that we solicit feedback from groups after they've done the event? Is there any sort of like, as in, I don't know how it went, any feedback at all that they send us?
Not as far as I'm aware, Chair, for common goods. It would be more for discretionary budget. So anything that comes from area committee, there's like monitoring reports, and then there's a feedback report that's presented to members, but there's not anything in place that I'm aware of for common goods. On the point of the 3 consecutive years, if you don't mind, Chair, there was a suggestion at the workshop that the wording be changed. So the suggestion by some members was that no organisation will be encouraged to apply for assistance for more than 3 consecutive years for the same project. So organisations can apply every year as long as the projects they're applying for are different. That was something that members suggested at the workshop.
Okay, that's useful. Thank you. Andrew.
So, Chair, it's a shame that you missed the workshop, because this is where I found myself in contention with others. So, yeah, we came down to that wording of the same project more than 3 years in a row. My opinion is if you've got a great project that, for example, I don't know, I'm plucking someone out of my head, if Swaza, the Water Sports Association want to take the kids out and teach them water sports for something like that for 3 months of the year in summer, and it costs £3,000, they want to do that every year. As a committee, I would say let's bloody go. Let's do it. We'll just support that. I'm happy to do that, but our criteria locks us in that we're not supposed to do that. So it's a question of how do we want to go forward? Do we want to just sponsor certain projects and say, well, if you're a group that wants to do this project, we will fund that amount each year, go do the project every year for the benefit of the kids of Stranraer, the benefit of the people of Stranraer, and we just sponsor that for a fixed period of time? Or do we open it up and say every year we'll we'll grant money to whoever comes in through the grants process scheme, depending on how much money we've got, and that's regardless to how many years you've came in? I don't know, Chair. I think we need to maybe look at this. I think we need to look at the common good and look at it and maybe try and create a bit more regularity about it and what we're sponsoring and what we're supporting, and really building something properly so that it's sustainable with our support, rather than just each year going a wee few grand there, a wee few grand there, a wee few grand there, and no monitoring reports really come back from a lot of these things. And it's kind of like, well, did the money get spent? Where did it do? What's the benefit of it? Whereas at least if we were to say, right, okay, £3,000 to this specific project every year for the next 5 years to support the kids or something like that, you know that there's going to be a benefit from it there, and it means that they are not going to have to go chasing funders willy-nilly, scared that they're not going to get funding, and it's locked in. I don't know, Chair, if that's maybe something we should maybe look at, or maybe to a degree look at. I'm not saying we just commit all of our funds, but hey, that's
yeah. I mean, I'm minded to just get rid of the 3 years personally, just a bit more open. Just yeah. Gillian, can I bring you in on Andrew's points there?
Yep. So we're looking at, am I right in saying that members are looking at taking out the 3 consecutive years, looking at potentially having a workshop before the next Common Good subcommittee meeting round about regularity of what's being supported? I've not got my teeth in this morning. And looking at whether or not there can be some sort of monitoring framework. I will check if there's anything that should be in place. If there's any sort of monitoring report that would be then fed back to the subcommittee. Was there anything I've missed, Councillor Gusty?
Thanks for that, Chair. Thanks for that, Gillian. Right, so my thoughts here are seeing this in this workshop. In this workshop, do we as councillors say, tell you what, we want to put £5,000 that we want to go direct to the children of Stranraer in some form or another. So we then invite the groups of Stranraer in with applications that would go to that amount of money, and we would say, right, we'll sponsor that for the next 3, 4, 5 years, that project, and then that's ring fence for that. Should we maybe be looking at something like that? And that would allow, like, I don't know if the Development Trust or SWAS or something like that, someone who comes in with a good application, we just support that for the next 3 years, so that there's guaranteed funding for that. This is me just spitballing, by the way. I'm not precious about it. I'm just trying to, how do we get our money out there to help people in the best possible way? And I think that's something that we can maybe discuss in a seminar offline, especially when we've got the full committee, hopefully, Gillian, maybe even at the same time as we're discussing Christmas lights and what we may want to do with that, if we want to make a capital investment or not. Sorry, Chair, I'm talking a lot today. It's the common good's actually one of the few places where I think that I can actually make a difference in the council.
No, thanks, Andrew. Gillian, so yeah, I think that's a good way forward if we can agree to hold another seminar about, sort of feedback and a way forward in terms of what Andrew's just suggested there. Robert, can I bring you in?
I think I quite agree with what Councillor Gisty said. You have to look at the bigger picture here, what you're actually here for. And as long as you're getting some feedback, we now, with our wind farm funding, we make it essential that we get feedback every time, or we probably wouldn't reconsider giving another grant to people. So I think you need to have a monitoring process, some feedback, but if you're going to go down the line of trying to benefit the people of the town, you may struggle to fit it into your meeting criteria. You're going to need to have more meetings to try and sort all these problems out and how you're going to distribute the money. But I definitely agree, the bigger picture is there. You've got a lot of money sitting there, blue dollar investment, but they're not doing the people of the town any good. You're just actually adding to your value. So what's the point of having the money to sit there and look at it?
Yeah, no, thanks, Robert. I think we're getting there. I'm looking at item 10 again on the appendix. Grants will not be paid, blah, 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 blah. This is a point that which Councillor Scobie often iterates. He doesn't like the council giving money towards ticketed events, things where there's like an admission ticket or anything like that. I would be minded to add that as an additional point. Andrew, what do you feel? I mean, if we're giving money towards things which people then need to pay to enter. Yeah.
I think it becomes difficult, Chair, because to make, in one hand, we're saying that we don't want people to, well, I know what we're changing this, but on one hand, we've said we don't want applications to come back to us after 3 years, 3 consecutive years. Okay, don't come back in 3 consecutive years. But you're not allowed to charge folk to make yourself sustainable. So it's a question of, well, how do we put that? I'm not, we're removing it, but we've said 3 years, don't come back because we want you to be sustainable. But at the same time, we're saying don't ticket your event, which is probably your only way that you're going to be sustainable.
That is a consideration, yeah, but also it wouldn't be our place either to say how much they charge. So yeah. I don't want to get into conspiracy levels here, but you don't know how much, how much is profit, how much is running costs and stuff. Yeah.
So these are the questions, Chair, and this is when we talk about this is where I think about charities in a general. So every charity that has staff has to run some sort of profit or some sort of way that they pay those staff. And then it's a question of, is that charity, although they're making money or what you consider profit, but it's not profit because it's being reinvested into either staff or the community or back into. And it's a case of, is that a benefit for the community? Now, if that, to keep that charity and that organisation, that event sustainable, do they have to charge a ticket price? Now, that's the Millennium Centre could say, right, from now on for Christmas, we need to charge £1 per person to come in to do this. Well, okay, then they have to charge that to be sustainable. But then that would mean that we couldn't fund them anymore. The Millennium Centre, for example, I'm just using that, the Millennium Centre charges groups to use their hall fees, to use their halls, to use their facilities. Does that... I think once we open that, we open a can of worms. And then it's like, well, the Oyster Festival tickets, but we still support them. The, what you call them? Swaza, the south of, the Stranraer Water Sports Association, they do ticketed things, they do paid excursions out in the boats, etc., and in the skiffies. I think in this day and age, most of your charities and most of your third sector groups have to charge at some point, and I think it would be difficult for us to say that we can't support that. Okay. And I know that earlier on I was talking. Sorry, Ben. Sorry, Chair. Sorry. I know earlier on I discussed the commercial aspect of the likes of the furniture project, and that solely what they asked for solely was for increasing their profit, their bottom line. That was what that solely was asking for. Something that's asking for us to contribute towards creating an event that requires staff, it requires a hotel in the Stranraer, or it requires a a use of a facility or something like that. Yeah, I think we need to. I think if we include that, then we're just shooting ourselves in the foot of what we can support.
I would agree, Andrew. What I would maybe recommend amending it to is page 99, 10B. It says towards fundraising events, except in exceptional circumstances. If we amended that maybe to say towards fundraising and ticketed events, except in demonstrated exceptional circumstances.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chair, read that again for me. And where are we? Part 10D?
10B,
B.
page 99,
Yeah.
to amend that to say, quote, towards fundraising and ticketed events, except in demonstrated exceptional circumstances.
That's where I then struggle, because then the demonstration is the four of us, well, the members of the committee decide on if it's demonstrated or not.
Yeah,
And then we come back to this.
That's our judgment when the application comes before us. Because currently, right now, it does just say except in exceptional circumstances, which to me means nothing, because our applicant's aware that they need to say that there are exceptional circumstances in their application. So that's why I would add the word demonstrated, so that they're cognizant of doing that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So then the question is, Chair, you've already just said that you're not a fan of how the committee continuously goes against our criteria. In this sense, then you're opening it up for us to go against our criteria, because the criteria is not. The criteria is saying don't come in with a ticketed event, but we might give you a ticketed event if you can demonstrate that it's a worthwhile ticketed event. So it's a bit ambiguous, and then it comes down to elected member decision, and it's not a clear criteria for us to then go, because I might believe in an application more than what other members believe in. Well, when I say believe in, I might support it more than what other members support it. I might say it is demonstrated, then it goes to a vote, and that's democracy, absolutely. But I don't know if changing the criteria at this point really makes a difference to that. What I'm saying, Chair, essentially is, do we feel that it's needed? Do we feel like it's necessary? Because I think the process is going to be the same in the ultimate.
Yeah, I'm in your hands. I mean, it's a tricky one. We might want to maybe leave that towards the workshop, which Gillian's nodding her head. Yeah, so that'll be scheduled at some point in terms of feedback and how we can actually engage properly with these external groups, I think. Do we have any more comments before I move on to the recommendations? Andrew?
No, Chair, not to be endless and be pedantic, yeah, but see, a part of this workshop that we're going to have, is it worth maybe having a portion of this workshop where we invite some of our usual culprits, such as the Development Trust, the Water Sports Association, Millennium Centre, Events Group, etc. Should we invite these, and the Furniture Project? I'm just trying to spitball them all here. All the local groups, should we invite them to maybe only a half an hour portion of our workshop, to ask them what do they see in the criteria that is not great for them, and because these are the folk that we are trying to support. These are the folk that come back to us. How do we help them to help themselves? And by helping them to help themselves, well, how do we make the criteria suit them to a degree?
I'm wondering if maybe that's better done through an area committee level. We sort of touched on this at the last area committee, didn't we, about how we can engage better with these groups. I don't know what your thoughts on that would be as chair of the area committee, if you think it's better to do it through that process. Yeah.
Well, I'm wanting to bring them in anyway at the area committee level. So, and I've had discussions on how we actually do that. So that's in process, but I think that's separate to this. I'm looking for what I'm saying here is I'm looking for a very, basically for a very sharp and brief conversation with them. I want them to come prepared and say, this is what we think about your criteria right now. If you maybe amend this, this and that, I think that would help us in the future. And when I'm saying that, you're probably sitting there saying, oh, so you're just wanting to basically give them a free-for-all and write their own criteria. That, it's like giving them a free will to write their own criteria. But these are the folk that come back to us continuously. And how do we make the criteria as easy as possible for them to access money? And it's easy, it's for like the likes of you, the other councillors and myself, we can sit here and shoot around ideas and create criteria up thinking that we're doing what good for the community. But we end up actually making something that it's not really sensible, or it's maybe not really, it has no effect in reality. When let's talk to the folk that are writing these applications, let's see what they think. I don't know, maybe I'm just on my spaceship on the screen, but who knows?
Okay, I don't have a problem with that. Engagement is always a good thing. So Gillian, if we can get this workshop scheduled for whenever it's convenient, and if we can make it an in-person one as well at Ashwood House maybe, so that we can invite a physical presence from these local organisations in Stranraer. Yeah. Andrew?
So, Robert, what do you think about what I was saying there, by the way? As our community representative, do you think I'm talking pie in the sky, or do you think I'm talking a bit of sense?
I think you're talking sense, Andrew, but I would be wary of some of them coming and dominating the conversation. I think you need to say, as you said, keep it to a limited time for each one, so they come with their own criteria of what they would like, and then you sit down and assess them all, because everybody have different ideas, and you don't want some of them coming dominating it all, because everybody in the town has the same view and the same opinions and the same say. We're all aiming for the same idea here, but make it open to discussion of with the way forward. You're maybe needing to upgrade how you work the whole common good fund, and have a forward think, and then sit down, reassess your values and your criteria, what you do, but get some information actually from the grassroots people of the town of what you're actually going to do. The different organisations, you say, there's always new organisations coming along, but they've always got to be justifiable in what they'd actually do. You don't want people coming in that are jumping this as a bandwagon. They can see it as a free lunch just to go and access the money without actually having a reason to do it. But it comes back to the thing as well, there needs to be feedback and why these things that people get money and what they do with it. And I think that is essential. But I quite agree, you need to maybe reassess and talk to people what they want out of it.
And just come back on that, as you said, Robert, we need to be brief and we need to manage the meeting.
Yes.
As soon as you bring outside parties into these kind of things, they can quite quickly, they can try and dominate and overtake what your goal is, and maybe outshadow other organisations. So it'd be very much have to be managed by us, and very much be on a time limit and to actually a managed chair.
Okay. Are we happy to move to the recommendations? Yep. Okay, so 2.1, we've noted the previous criteria and the application form for the common good. We've agreed some changes. Gillian, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Can you read out the proposed changes at this point to the criteria?
Yes, Chair. Okay, so changes that I've picked up on are point 2 on the criteria. It's now amended to read applications will be received by applications received will be considered by the subcommittee at their meetings throughout the year. Incidental applications may be considered on an ad hoc basis and with approval of 2/3 members of Stranraer Common Good Subcommittee. Decisions will be dependent on the availability of budgets.
Yep.
Moving down, number 10, we have under B, towards fundraising events and ticketed events except in exceptional circumstances. And then we've added on a point G, so not fund, the Common Good will not fund fireworks except silent fireworks.
Yep.
There's been discussion about taking out, so removing point 12 completely. So that's
Yep.
taking out the 3-year consecutive rules. Okay, hold on. And then there's some questions round about point 19, but that's more about the functionality of it, like the application submitted, monitoring process, capturing the impacts on people in Stranraer, and that's something I can work on between now and the workshop. Is that all the amendments that were discussed to the updated criteria?
I think so. Andrew, does that sound good to you?
That sounds good to me. The only thing maybe to add is the Christmas meeting, the £3,000 Christmas meeting. Is it worth adding that it'll be in September rather than October? Is that right, Robert? Is that what you suggested as a community rate?
Yeah, I did suggest it, but I just don't know how you physically can fit these in with your schedule of meetings. I don't know. I mean, your timescale generally probably knows how you can fit all these different meetings in. Would it be a less informal meeting as the likes of, would it just be a meeting purely so to discuss that? Can you get that in your timetable? Is that possible?
Gillian?
Happy to liaise with Modern Gov for a specific meeting, Stranraer Common Good Subcommittee meeting in September, specifically in relation to the ring-fenced Christmas money, so that it'll be like almost a single item agenda. It'll be the one purpose to discuss those applications. So any other applications will be heard at your typical Stranraer Common Good Subcommittee meetings.
Okay.
Could you also use that opportunity if some came along that you actually had to discuss? So you know, you could put something on the agenda at short notice if need be, just for that purpose, but also let people know late summer or fairly soon that this meeting is a possibility, that we're going to have a September meeting. And if they want to, when were you thinking of putting an application process in for this funding application window? How are you going to work that?
Gillian?
So obviously I haven't done anything in relation to the process behind it yet, because I'm not sure if that's something that members are going to agree to go ahead with and move forward with. But certainly I would be hoping if members were minded to support the £3,000 that were ring fenced, then that will be something that would be on the website. But I think there's probably a further discussion that's needed, whether it's going to be the full Stranraer Common Good application form, or whether it is an expression of interest to Stranraer Common Good for specific Christmas lights money. So that's potentially something that we would maybe pick up in our workshop, just round about the kind of the functionality of it. What would members like to see that process being? Obviously then I can work with colleagues in legal and finance over the practicalities to get it on, but it will be on the website as soon as we've got clear dates and we've got meetings booked in. It'll be on the Stranraer Common Good website.
Andrew?
Sorry, Chair, just picking up on a word that Gillian said there. You said Christmas lights. It's just general Christmas projects.
Yeah.
Totally my error. Sorry, Councillor Gusty. I think there's been a whole load of conversations about a variety of different things. So yeah, no, for Christmas activities, because it's the Christmas diary that the Common Good Subcommittee we're keen to see like a bit of an events calendar created. So sorry, that was my absolute error.
Okay, no, thank you. Okay, so that's 2.3, and we've agreed with the criteria at 2.2. 2.4, we're agreeing to consider applications to the fund twice a year, being in June and November. And 2.5, note that an updated application form and timetable for applications will be presented to a future meeting of the subcommittee. And can we add as 2.6, further agreed to hold a workshop, well, a community workshop with local organisations. Okay, I think that's us. Gillian, have you got everything? I appreciate it's been a there's been a lot of conversations and everything. It's difficult to keep track of it all. Yeah.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I think I've captured everything throughout the conversation as we're going along, and obviously there'll be things that I'll feed back to members when we get to the workshop, just to be clear on certain things. And I know when the minutes are available, you can members can have a wee look and just double check everything's been captured appropriately.
Magic, thank you very much. Okay, that concludes today's meeting. Thank you for your patience, everyone. It's been a long one, but I've no other further items of business, so that concludes today's meetings, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Cheers.